3.3 major project, project 1, defining and planning, case study of my sketchbook. I've started off the project with a mind map, thinking about some key areas. A lot of the work was established in 3.2, and I think there's a lot of work there to be used for redevelopment for this project. I'm learning to be more confident with working independent as an independent practitioner, and I think it's kind of highlighting using what I've always had a tendency to do, is working with a methodical cycle where I start with an idea and I plan things out. I like my work to be quite visual. As you can see in the sketchbook, I've just highlighted out some key pointers that I want to still involve within my textile work. Asking questions, what is play? The main theme is still going to continue with dyslexia, and a key colour is also going to be the colour red, which signifies dyslexia. All of this has been built up through research from 3.1 and 3.2. Some new investigations from 3.2 that I didn't use. I've come back to this and I've looked at some poetry. Dyslexic candidates have wrote some fantastic emotional poetry about feelings of what it's like to have dyslexia and the difficulty with language. And what this did, it has now developed into a starting point for the beginning of 3.3 major project I've put together of my own personal story. This can be viewed on a Google document, which I will allocate for my tutor to see in my feedback point 1. So another key area is still going to start with the school report. So what I've done with the sketchbook with the words and so forth, words that were written by school teachers from when I was a child. This is going to be for the first of my textile pieces. I'm actually going to put together 6 garments, and they're all going to resonate with performance, possible ideas of dance and so forth. We're still in early stages, but I just want to put together with this sketchbook some planning ideas, which are going to be moving forward for the flexible project plan, which I'm using with Padlet. I'm using a research Padlet, a sketchbook Padlet, and the flexible project Padlet, which can be easily edited. So I'm kind of building up these resources and information which are going to enable me, and it does give me a structure for the way that I learn things. And also I like to be quite visual with my work, so there's going to be lots of photographs, video and mind mapping. So what we've done here is we're just breaking down some of the ideas that I could possibly use and develop for these garment ideas, returning back to some areas, contemporary context, some mixed media and so forth, and materials that could be a possibility to use through developed work. Another area that I began to think about was from 3.2. I made some knitted pieces which then I photographed on myself, where I use the body as a platform, and these feel kind of quite armour relatable. So I've started to do some research with armour, particularly interested in Vivienne Westwood's Time Machine collection of 1987 and 1988, and this has now led on to making a paper toile, and then this paper toile is going to engage in some ideas to be used as some design ideas for my knitting, because my knitted textiles and mixed media is my forte for this project. I've already explained in 3.2 that I am a designer, and this is where it's going to take the form for project 3.3, where I can now start to develop my work and think along the lines of design and how things are going to fit together and work. I want my mixed media to be wearable also and fit in with the knitted textiles. So as we can see, I'm relating and responding to research, pulling some ideas from 3.2 and starting to think about the paper toile, and making a process of ideas with new research along the way. I've made master copies of the paper toiles in conjunction, still thinking about the research. This is some in-depth research into the Vivienne Westwood armour jacket, and disconnecting so that these knitted pieces will actually work and fit together through either clips that I used in 3.2 or leather straps. As we can see through here, Tilda Swinton demonstrates on December's edition of Vogue something very similar. So I'm going to go down this route. The armour idea kind of resonates a little bit with my own diagnosis of my own personal dyslexia, and I kind of want to maybe possibly see that the textiles could be some form of protection against of how dyslexia can make you feel, and the struggles and the traits that we encounter through our education. As this is why I had my own personal diagnosis, because I struggle with language and the academic side of my studies. Here are the master copies of the paper patterns. Further research is now coming into looking at armour pieces and so forth. All of this is up in the sketchbook, and some work previously carried out in 3.2. I'm kind of still thinking along the lines of ballet and the connections with dyslexia and the ballet, and paper toiles and body shapes. So as we can see, this sketchbook is mainly to do with just planning. These will be possible fashion illustrations, but I'm also thinking about performance and movement. As we can see, I've just highlighted in red using the red marker pen to make the connection with dyslexia, but also thinking about armour pieces, because I've got to be able to make these pieces so that we can perform in them, either some form of dance, hopefully with the idea of ballet. But these just quick sketches will enable me to work out designs, and in conjunction some fashion illustration. These are just some photographs of me from 3.2 where I demonstrated some samples and dancing to sound or music. Different shapes and forms so that it would just expose some of the ideas of the design. And then what I progressed to do was, with the paper toiles, was just I'm going to use for each of the garments where I can actually draw onto them, work out some of the designs for the knitting. Like here I've used the school report, which is going to go at the beginning, which will be sample number 1, writing and so forth from my school reports, but it's kind of just selecting whereabouts and what I'm going to use. So I just did some painting and drawing that I could possibly use in conjunction with the knitting, which we'll see slightly later on as these flat pieces of paper start to divulge. Just making some noted documentation for the ideas, and as we can see, we can start to see the cycle of my ideas and how I'm going to work in my sketchbooks to build up the development of this work. And then through here we can actually see some final pieces of the paper toile with the armour panels and sections, the written work and the words for the school report, and the idea behind the school report were the negative connotations that teachers used to write with the red pen. So the red line for dyslexia is now working and starting to build its way through into the knitting and the three-dimensional forms. This will be part of most of the garment structure in different shapes and forms, and also as well these garments are further developments from the samples that I did for my 5-day exhibition at the Carpet Museum, and that was all based around the thin red line for dyslexia.